Committee meeting, and I will turn things over to our CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first item is a motion for consideration with respect to holding this meeting electronically. As you all know, we are still in an emergency, having to hold this completely remotely without members of the public present in the boardroom.
Looking for a motion. Move Director Adamson, second Director Dixon. All in favor? Contrary, the motion carries.
And the next item is your report on Regional and Corporate Services Committee meeting.
Thank you. We had a discussion this morning about it started out with the need, or the LMLGA resolution coming from the District of Kent on agricultural plastics and the need for a province-wide program to support that. Ms. Director Pranger had some comments in that regard. And then we talked about the strategic plan. Remember, the directors were thanking staff for the great work they've done on the strategic plan. We talked about the flood management strategy. A lot of discussion from directors regarding the Fraser Basin Council's the direction they're taking on addressing flood mitigation, especially in regards to the Fraser River and the lack of support for gravel extraction from the Fraser. So it'll be interesting to see where that discussion goes forward. And I believe that is an item on our agenda today in our electoral areas meeting. Other than that, I think there wasn't a lot other. We talked about COVID safe restart funding, and we'll address that in our meeting today too. Other than that, I think that covers off the RACS meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So then we'd just be looking for approval of the agenda, and late items.
For a motion, move Director Adamson, second Director Stobart. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, contrary, motion carries.
Next item is 4.1. We have notice of motion by Director Wendy Bales.
Okay, Director Bales, did you have, so the motion's before us. Did you want us to move that, Director Bales?
Yeah, I'd like to move it.
Okay, a seconder, Director Adamson, discussion.
I just thought I'd bring up some history. I think it was 2014, maybe the end of 2013, that I found out how inequitable the garbage system was in my area. People were using, people from Area C were using F&G garbage, or weren't using F&G garbage, but were paying into that system. So now we've realigned the system, so it's all Area C, but we're still subsidizing people from outside the area mostly in Kent. And it's quite a huge amount when you look at it. It's every bag would be subsidized by about $9.28. So I think it's time to make it pay for what it cost. Basically, Harrison Mills people have been. The Harrison Mills system has been subsidizing outside users for quite a while. So now it's starting to line up, and I just think it's time to get everything straight for the system.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Director Bales. Perhaps staff would like to speak to the issue.
Sure. I believe that we have Sterling on the line. Perhaps Sterling would speak about the garbage realignment and the work that's already underway in this regard.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, through the chair to, I guess, Director Dickey and Bales. Yeah, staff are prepared to bring forward an amendment to the garbage bylaw for Area C as early as next month's EASC meeting. As was mentioned, we have done considerable background work already analyzing the use by out of service area users, what that future tipping fee structure might look like. So if this is the motion, staff are prepared to move forward with bringing the bylaw to next month.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chan. So the motion contains language such as the bylaw will reflect the true cost per bag or truckload for non-service area users. From what I understand, Director Bales and staff seem to be on not in full agreement as to what that would look like.
Well, I think there's two different, through the chair, I think there's two different separate issues. And right now I'm just trying to clear up an issue that's been ongoing for well over 15 years, I think. I'm not sure quite the date for that service area, but the Kent side of the river are not paying their taxes. So it's all being subsidized, and it has been subsidized for a long time. We're getting a little bit more equity up in Hemlock, whereas now that it's a man station, we're not getting all the mixed garbage and the contractor garbage up there. So it'll take a while for the whole system to settle down and for people to realign to a man station up there. But no matter what comes about with the price per bag for in-area users, it doesn't change the fact that the non-tax paying users have been getting subsidized for a very long time. So I just like to clean that up first, and then we can deal with the other issues separately.
Okay, thank you, Director Bales. So it sounds like the staff are prepared to revisit this over the coming month, and in April bring something back to the committee. And that's would work for you, Director Bales?
Not really. I'd like to clean this issue up first and then work on the other issues. It's a separate, as I said, it's a separate issue. So it's been going on for a long time. And I don't think we need to mix it in with the other issue, which is the true cost of the area users bag price. But this is kind of a no-brainer. It's been going on for a long time. And I think it'd be good to clear this up for our taxpayers first.
Mr. Chair, may I just clarify, because I'm having a hard time understanding. When we went to the garbage service realignment, through that process, it was agreed that there was going to be some analysis and some work done with respect to Area C garbage service. I'm having a hard time understanding how one issue could be dealt with absent from the entire service area. And I would suggest that perhaps having staff come back with a full presentation of that analysis would be better before we start crafting individual fragmented elements of a bylaw for which we haven't even brought the information forward. So I'm trying to understand why we would want to do that work in advance of having looked at sort of a holistic look of the service that's just been realigned.
Good, thank you, Ms. Kinnaman, for that advice. That sounds to me the correct procedural way to deal with this. Other directors haven't even been able to look at the background material around the issues. So
Davidson?
Go ahead, Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. So I guess it's true to staff is the intent that when they come back in April, it will address by some means at least the perception, or speak to the perception of non-Area C usage of that facility. And I guess the other question I have too is that I know from talking to Director Bales on it, it's obviously been a high concern for her. But when you've got users from out of the service area using the service, it kind of speaks to the need for a potential sub-regional service area, or at least perhaps hitting Kent with a bill for whatever the difference is between what they're using and what it costs for them in that use. So I don't know if staff's April presentation is going to touch that subject matter at all. I'm wondering if they have any comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Davidson. So maybe it's a bit early to be asking staff for a report out on this when if the work hasn't been done yet, but I'll let Mr. Chan, if you'd like to speak to this.
Certainly. So to answer, or through the chair to Director Davidson, as part of the preliminary analysis that we've conducted so far, we have quantified, usage from the District of Kent at this facility. We got a pretty good handle on the volumes that are originating from outside of the service area, as well as what that costs the regional district to process that service area. So there are a number of different approaches to recovering that cost, and yeah, I'd be happy to address that in a subsequent staff report on the subject.
Good, thank you, Mr. Chan. Other discussion, directors?
To the chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Director Bales.
Yeah, I think this is a clear-cut issue. It's easy to separate from all the other issues, and it's been going on. I know I identified it in 2014, so it's been going on for a long time. And no matter what happens with the rest of the issues, this one I'm quite certain about, that we shouldn't be subsidizing outside area users to the tune of $9 a bag or whatever the truckload cost is. I'm not quite sure on that, but it's as long as it's identified as the true cost, then it should work out. So it's been going on for a long time. The other issue, I need more information that I haven't gotten quite from staff yet to address the other issue. And it's my understanding that staff also want to come back to realign prices with area F and G. And that could take a while yet, but on this issue, I'm quite certain. And I feel like it's been going on for years now. So I'm ready to go forward with it. As far as my area goes, and more equity and fairness for the ratepayers. So
Okay,
I
good.
would be
Thank
willing to
you.
vote on it. If it still goes forward, then at least I tried. So
Okay, thank you, Director Bales. I think you've made everyone aware of the concerns you have regarding the service. Once again, the other directors haven't seen a staff report on this issue at this time, and I think it's really unfair for them to try and weigh in on a discussion until they do see a staff report. So it would appear to me that this really should be deferred to the April East meeting, and then we can have a full, frank discussion around it.
We need a motion to that effect.
Davidson, move.
Dixon second.
Okay, we do have a motion and a seconder on, so we do not discuss a deferral motion other than the actual, whether the deferral will be made or not. So any discussion on that issue? Seeing none, all those in favor of deferring to the April East meeting? Can we get a count?
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 in favor.
So that would be, the motion is carried because we have 7 directors. Okay, those contrary?
I have Director Bales. Is there anybody else that's in opposition? Thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay,
So the motion is carried. Yeah. And thank you, directors, and thank you, staff. Move forward.
Thank you, everyone. So moving down to the next item is 5.1. We have the draft Electoral Area Services Committee meeting minutes of February 11th, 2021.
Promotion. Move Director Dixon, second. Only seeing about 2 directors right now, so I'm assuming.
Director
there's a
Angar
second.
has his hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Angar. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Item 6.1 is bylaw number 1615, building numbering regulations amendment for electoral areas E and H, the bylaw update project.
Okay, looking for a motion.
So moved, Dengar.
Angar moves, second Director Dixon. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
7.1, we have the 2021 grant and aid request for the Chilliwack River Valley Residents Association and Electoral Area E.
Motion, Director Angar.
Dengar, moved,
Thank
yes.
you. Seconder, Director Dixon, I see you moving. Thank you. All in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Next is 8.1. It is an information item. It's the Lower Mainland Flood Management Strategy. Staff are available to answer any questions if the committee has any.
Okay, discussion, directors.
Dixon.
Please go ahead, Director Dixon.
I did read this last night and attempt to, but I would appreciate anybody that's had maybe a little bit more in-depth coverage to it, because what I looked at was something like 60, huge number of recommendations, and something about cost, price or potential price costing and increasing. And so I guess I'm kind of looking, does anyone have any comments on what this would actually mean for area, for FVRD, for us?
Yeah, we'll let staff maybe try and 25 words or less tell us what's going on here.
Well, I'll take a stab at the beginning, and maybe we'll turn it over to Tarek, because I know Tarek not only authored the report, but he has been involved in this file for quite some time. Essentially, the Fraser Basin Council has put together a number of studies over the years, and this list of recommendations as to how to cope with the potential for Fraser River flooding in the years to come. And all of these recommendations could be specific to an individual municipality. At the table have been all of the authorities, or almost all the authorities over various dikes. So for the Fraser Valley Regional District, we don't have the same kind of authority or ownership over dike works as perhaps, say, the city of Chilliwack or the city of Abbotsford. However, we do have a role to play, and certainly there's an emergency management function and just a general concern, obviously, as to the health and livelihood and the economy of the Fraser Valley in the event of ongoing flooding. Certainly climate change has seen us activate our emergency management, our emergency operations center more frequently. These freshettes tend to turn into our annual activation. And so this is just an overall strategy to help guide the various organizations forward, mostly to lobby higher levels of government to provide funding for those kinds of works. But Tarek, did you want to speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention through Mr. Chair, through Director Dixon, this plan doesn't have a whole lot of effect on any electoral areas except area G, and a little bit on F because of the improvement district, that the diking improvement district that they have, but it's not an FVRD responsibility. It is solely for the diking districts and diking association as well. And all our diking systems, flood mitigation system that we have, that we look after, there are 6 of them. They're all in other electoral areas, but they do not affect anything to do with the Fraser River. So, so for an example, in electoral area H, we have the Frost Creek, the diking system, and it doesn't affect, this report doesn't affect that area at all. So it's as Mrs. Kinnaman mentioned about that this is more kind of a regional perspective. And in my report, I did say it had almost 60 organizations participating, and all the member municipalities are basically given opportunity to give their own perspective on their own feedback on these. So where from electoral area perspective, there's not a whole lot of involvement. However, I did talk to, after this report was authored, I did talk to Fraser Basin, the project manager, Steve Litke, and he did mention that in the future, they will communicate more with the improvement districts and association just to get their perspective. And I was at that, when they had this project going on for last several years, I did bring out issues from the electoral areas, especially those diking districts. But of course, the diking districts could not participate because it's a volunteer-run organization, and this project was a lot of people participated on a regular basis. So, so that's all I wanted to mention.
Okay,
Good.
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Islam. Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. I think this morning when the RACS committee was discussing this, someone put a $6 billion price tag on this. So obviously it's a very big project. Any further discussion?
Through the chair.
Director Bales?
Yeah, I was designated to be on the flood committee, but from all I can gather from last term, it's basically non-functional to staff. Is that still the case? That the redesignation just happened again. Has anything happened to reform the committee? Okay, so I did go to a meeting early on last term or at the beginning of this term, sorry, where they had a coalition of different groups. So it just seems like we need something a little bit more defined and functional as far as a liaison. And that's just my comment for now.
Good, thank you, Director Bales. So staff, do you have anything to add about the flood committee?
I'm just going to look to Ms. Van Ness on this one.
And certainly follow up with the committee and provide an update.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Van Ness. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So moving down to 9.1, we have development permits issued in 2020 by the Director of Planning and Development. This is just an information item. We often share this kind of news with the committee and the board, typically at the beginning of a year, just highlighting what has happened in the year previous. And I'm sure staff would be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
Okay, thank you. Directors, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move forward.
9.2 is the personal care mobile home covenant for 285 Cossacre Road in Electoral Area H.
For motion, move Director Dixon, second. Director
Adamson.
Adamson, thank you. Any discussion?
Dixon.
Go ahead, Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It certainly does make sense to me, but I'm just curious with the covenant. And my understanding is the covenant is the personal care use. If there comes a time when the, I think it's her mom, the person no longer needs the personal care use, is the covenant disbanded? Or does that end the covenant, or can this, the second home stay on the property?
Okay, thank you, Director Dixon. Staff?
Yeah, I think Mr. Daniluz would be happy to answer that one.
Yes, indeed. Through the chair, that's the entire focus of the covenant, is to provide us with an opportunity to remove that mobile home when the care use is no longer provided. That the terms of the covenant specify that it would be removed, and we take a relatively small security to assist us with that when the day comes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danilus, and thank you, Director Dixon. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary? Motion carries.
Next, we have 9.3, which is Development Variance Permit 2020-06, which is an application to reduce the exterior lot line setback at 43802 Lock Road in Electoral Area C.
For a motion, move Director Bales, second Director Adamson. Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary? Motion carries.
9.4, we have Development Variance Permit 2020-16 to reduce the rear lot line setback to facilitate an addition to an existing accessory building at 52984 Yale Road in Electoral Area D.
For a motion,
Move, Stewart.
move Director Stowart, second Director Dixon. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary? Motion carries.
9.5, we have Development Variance Permit 2021-03 to reduce the front setback for deck posts and eaves to facilitate construction of a deck roof at 262 First Street in Electoral Area H.
Okay, looking for a motion. Moves. Director Dixon moves, second
Second, Engar.
Engar. Any discussion?
Dixon.
Go ahead, Director Dixon.
So this one has two parts, where one part of the variance is approved and the other are suggested. And the second part to reduce the front setback for the eaves is refused. So I did go through all these letters and had this conversation with the park board as well, some of them there. So I do support it as it's written here. I know that there's trying to get things in line. So I think this might be part of that process.
Good. Thank you, Director Dixon. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary? Motion carries.
9.6, we have the Agricultural Land Commission application for a non-adhering residential use at 35444 Hartley Road in Electoral Area F.
Okay, looking for motion. Move Director Davidson, seconder Director Adamson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary? Motion carries.
Moving down to item 10, we have 10.1, which is the Community Resiliency Investment 2021 Fire Smart Grant application. There is a motion for your consideration, and I'll just remind the committee that last year we also made application for a sizable grant, which would enable the actions that were recommended as part of the community wildfire protection plans. So having access to that grant funding would be wonderful, but then having an actual staff person to implement some of these actions would be even more wonderful.
Double wonderful. What could get better? Looking for a motion.
So moved, Engar.
Thank you, Director Engar. Seconder, Director Adamson. Any discussion?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Director Engar, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just wondering what the status of that funding of the community resiliency funding is.
Through the chair to Director Engar, my understanding is that the original intake was expected to be announced at the beginning of March, but I believe that with the delay on the provincial budget, they have decided not to make those announcements just yet. So I'm hopeful. I believe budget day is April 20th. So I'm hopeful sometime after that we'll hear the results of that intake.
Okay.
Thank you. Fingers crossed.
Good. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Davidson?
Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. Just through to staff, the motion references the wildfire management plans, and I don't recall them being released to the public yet. Is that correct? And if so, is there like a target date in mind for that? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director Davidson. Staff?
I'll have to look to staff on this, whether they have been, I'm not really sure what release to the public means. They were presented in open session of the board, so they're public that way, but whether they are posted to the website or something of that nature, I'm not really certain. Ms. Barker,
So,
aware of whether they're posted? I'd have to look.
No, sorry, I'm not aware if they are, but I can certainly look into that and I can get back to you, Director Davidson.
thank you, Ms. Barker. I was just going to say, like the open presentation in the board, we had a presentation about the plans, and I know follow up later that I know that myself and at least Director Engar had received drafts from Mr. Dick, and that was after the open board presentation. I was just looking for that. Is there something we can show the public yet? Question. But if somebody can follow up, let me know. Thank you.
Great.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Barker, and thank you, Director Davidson.
One follow-up, if I may, Chair.
Yep, Director Enger,
Could
please.
you please put me on that list? I'd like to know as well when they come available.
Yep.
Good. Thank you. Director Dixon.
I'm just looking at this. Is the intention to support all the electoral areas? I mean, or I guess it will obviously depend if we get the funding, but I certainly am interested in having wildfire protection up here as well. So I guess I need to be on the list also, whatever this list is.
Well, generally speaking, through the chair to Director Dixon, we try to advise all of you at the same time about most things. And so certainly there were priority areas that were identified in those wildfire protection plans. But I think that with any fire smart coordinator, the intention is to try to reach as broad of an audience as possible and do some of these activities. Whether every single electoral area, every community is going to get something in 2021, assuming that we are successful and assuming we can hire someone, I can't really say at this point, but I think that this committee has certainly expressed a desire for this kind of work to be done. And this is one way that we can get some of those activities taken care of.
Great, thank you, makes sense.
Good. Thank you, Director Dixon. Thank you, staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Item 10.2, we have the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund Grant Application 2021 for Emergency Operations Centers. There's a motion for your consideration.
Okay, looking for a motion. Move Director
Engar.
Engar, second Director Bales. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Moving to 11.1, we have the 2020-2022 strategic plan. As the committee is well aware, we have spent quite a bit of time as a board looking through the previous strategic plan and honing in on all of those achievable targets. I'm very pleased that the communications team was able to so quickly turn all of those thoughts and notes into this document. And so it is here for your consideration.
Good, thank you, Ms. Kinman. Looking for a motion. Move Director Adamson, second Director Stobart. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Moving to 11.2, Tourism Harrison and Tourism Chilliwack proposed municipal regional district tax program boundary expansion in electoral areas C, E, and H. And I will just draw the board's attention to the 5 letters that were circulated to you in advance of the meeting. 3 letters were in support and 2 letters were in opposition to this proposal.
Okay, thank you. So as I've discussed this with directors, it sounds like there might be separate motions made.
Stobart?
Director Stobart.
Because I have a number of, so say relationships with a number of the tourism businesses in area and C, I'd like to excuse myself from the conversation.
Good, Thank you, Director Stobart.
We'll give you a call, Director Stobarts, when it's time to come back to the room.
Thank you.
Okay, so further to what I was saying, it seems like each of C, E, and H may have separate views on this. Perhaps we could lead off with Director Bales.
I would like to make a motion to split the first part from the second part, area C from H and E.
Okay, and so there's a staff recommendation, the FERD board support Tourism Harrison's application to implement the municipal and regional district tax program within the Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area C from 2022 to 2027. Is that the motion that you would like to move forward?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to split split the two parts of the motion. So yeah, the first part from area H and E.
Yeah, that's
what you
recognized.
said. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion that the FERD board support Tourism Harrison for the MRDTP program for area C.
Well, we have to vote to split the motion or first?
Okay, we'll ask staff about that.
That's
Ms.
correct,
Van
Mr.
Ness
Chair.
has come on, yeah.
That's
Okay.
correct. So we'll have to first consider the motion, Director, and I will need a seconder to split the motions so that we can just consider them one at a time.
I'll second
Okay.
it. Engar.
So I move Bales, second Angar on separating the motions out. All those, or any discussion?
Bales?
Go
Oh,
ahead, Director Bales.
just that I've had a lot of feedback and I just feel like I would like to keep my area separate from the other areas and just consider them separately.
Okay, thank you, Director Bales. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Contrary, the motion carries. So now, if we do, that we are going to break up the motions, starting with area C. Director Bales, did you have a motion?
Just as it's written, well, I'd like to speak to how it's written.
Okay, so you'd like,
I will be speaking against the motion, actually. So.
so would you, perhaps, would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if I have to make a motion to that effect. Can't I just speak to the motion and vote?
Maybe I might be able to clarify. So because the motion to split the two motions into two, or sorry, split the one motion into two separate resolutions. So the way I take that is what would be up for consideration first would be this motion, that the Fraser Valley Regional District Board support Tourism Harrison's application to implement the municipal and regional district tax program within the Fraser Valley Regional District Electoral Area C from 2022 to 2027. So that would be the motion.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Van Ness. So looking for a mover for that motion.
Davidson?
Move Director
Davidson.
Davidson. Second,
Engar, second.
Director Engar. Discussion, Director Bales.
So I've had quite a lot of feedback. I wouldn't say that it's over 50% in favor as far as the businesses themselves go. Opposed has been Sasquatch Mountain, the B&Bs up in Sasquatch Mountain, the homeowners association up in Hemlock. In favor, if I just take area C businesses, I've only heard from the Sasquatch Inn pub, and other letters of support have been outside of area C. I have heard from a lot of residents. I haven't had a lot of time to discuss this with residents, but in the short time I've had, I did not get any positive feedback in favor of advertising any more people are feeling very overwhelmed with the amount of tourism that we already have and can't accommodate. And actually, you know, even with COVID has been hard on businesses for sure because they've had to accommodate for this. But even with COVID, it's been one of the best years ever for golf at the Sandpiper. They were pretty well maxed out capacity up at the Sasquatch Mountain. People tell me that the business at the Sasquatch Inn has been pretty busy. So, but what I am hearing from a lot of area residents is just that we are not prepared to deal with the amount of tourism and the policing and the negative impacts that it causes, the garbage, the policing, and overcrowding, no parking. So we're in the midst of doing an OCP, and I think we need to really have that established and in place and really look at the whole picture. And I don't really see the businesses right now suffering from lack of tourism. We've been inundated with tourism, never seen anything like this year. So I will be voting in opposition to this motion.
Good. Thank you, Director Bales. Any further discussion? Seeing none.
Adamson.
Director Adamson, go ahead.
I'm going to be voting against Wendy on this. I think that this tax only affects people that are coming and staying here. It's a hotel tax, right? So all around the area has it. I know I was against it when it first came up in our area, but more so against it because I didn't understand, because they didn't even talk to me about it. But what I understand is you got to get a majority of beds, and then you get to collect this 2% and use it on making more people business to town. I think it's a great idea. And everybody's, when they move somewhere, they don't want anybody else to come, but that's not reality. That's just wishful thinking. So that's how I'm voting.
Okay, thank you, Director Adamson.
Dixon.
Director Dixon, go ahead.
So my thoughts are similar, I think, to Director Adamson in that I did speak with Miss Thor up at Tourism Chilliwack, and the way I view it a little differently. It's the tourists are already here, and they're coming. We can't unselect Cultus Lake area or any area for that matter. They're coming, they want to get outside and see what's going on and get some fresh air and things like that. So it's more from my perspective now, what can we do to manage that so that it is more of a positive experience for both, for the visitors, but also for the residents. And I think I just see this as an opportunity to have a voice, to be able to say, this is what's working, this is what's not working. And there's no way we can stop them from coming. And so my perspective is, I just would prefer to be managed, helping to solve the problem.
Good. Thank you, Director Dixon. Further discussion?
Davidson?
Yeah, Director Davidson, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll be, I think, supporting Director Bales in her opposition to this. The presentation we had, we hear a lot of mostly from areas E and H about, the challenges, and C about the challenges of COVID and pressure that tourism is bringing. And for myself, I wasn't entirely convinced one way or the other that membership in this organization is going to help that in any way. And yes, the tourists are going to come, but it's just not really clear to me that this organization is going to make it a better experience or even just cause more people to come and result in more pressure. Regardless, at the end of the day, I think this is if Area E and H want to participate in it, I'll certainly support those directors. And if Area C does not want to participate in it, I'll fully support Director Bales in her opposition. I think it's best left to the local area director in this. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Director Davidson. Director Angar.
When it's our turn on our motion here, I think I'll chime in. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Director Angar. Director Bales, you had another comment?
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about how staff time is allocated as well. But I'm hearing from residents too that they can't even enjoy some of the places that they moved here to enjoy. There's no parking. Kilby's been overflowing. And there's the capacity has been maxed out in many places. So the concern is that more advertising, we don't really need more advertising. We're pretty well maxed out to capacity as is. But also, I think the staff time could be better used on better signage, maybe to get people to clean up after themselves. We could probably utilize the DeRoche sign to do a welcome, but please take your garbage with you in a polite kind of way. I don't think that you can change. And one of the letters I had was that there's too much garbage and too many yahoos and not enough policing. So I don't think that's going to change with more advertising, even if you advertise for people to be politer or good citizens or good guests, or I don't see that as changing. And Area C is on the map. People know where we are. We get, it's wall-to-wall cars anytime there's a sunny day, all through the summer. It's hard to even get to your destination in any reasonable time. And it's also been harder on our emergency workers. And I think, I don't see the businesses suffering at all, actually. So
Okay.
I'm still not supporting.
Okay, thank you, Director Bales. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to support Tourism Harrison's application, please show your hands.
So it's one.
Okay, so we had both Director Adamson and Dixon spoke in favor of this, but okay, we've got a count, staff.
So we got one in favor and one, how many opposed? Could we have the hands?
Yep. Contrary.
So we have Director Bales, Director Angar, Director Dixon.
Davidson opposed.
Davidson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
The motion fails.
motion fails.
Motion fails. This is not supported. Good, thank you. So now we move on to the next motion, which would be, I'll let Ms. Kinnaman explain.
Sure. So the second motion is that the Fraser Valley Regional District Board support Tourism Chilliwack's application to implement the MRDT within the Fraser Valley Regional District electoral areas E and H from 2022 to 2027.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion. Director Angar moves. Second, Director Dixon. Discussion.
Yes,
Director
please,
Angar.
Chair.
Yep, Director
Thank you,
Angar.
Chair. I should first of all say that I polled my community to the best of my ability. The short time we had, I sent out about 60 emails, and some of those got passed around. I'm guessing I probably hit about 100 people. And it wasn't cherry picking. It was, I was trying to get a real feel for how the community feels. And I think most people got back, it was about 50-50, maybe a little 55-45, could be a little bit plus or minus. I haven't taken the final tally today, but they're still trickling in. But the main thing that I take away from it is everybody in the valley, they don't want any more tourists. So I talked to Allison Colthorpe, as Director Dixon did. And we had a good long conversation, and I told her point blank, I said, basically the community does not want more tourists. But we're always open to dialogue and wanting to find out how we can better manage the tourism, as Director Dixon has said eloquently, that they're coming regardless. They are there. You just have to drive through Chilliwack these days to see the huge number of homes going up, condos, apartment blocks. They're coming. So we really need to find ways to handle it, I told Allison. And she was very willing and open to a concept which I'm quite happy about. And that is Area E Stewardship Committee for Tourism Chilliwack. So in essence, she's offered to make quarterly visits to Area E and work with constituents to listen to our needs and to advocate for our local needs. And I think this is something that changes the whole perspective. It's no longer a destination marketing approach for Area E, but a destination management approach. And I'm very pleased to join under those terms and conditions. Some of the things that I'm just reading my notes here. Some of the things we may be able to gain from that are a campaign like to protect this gift, being the valley, focusing on responsible tourism, focusing on local needs to manage tourists, not necessarily increasing them. Pack it in, pack it out, leave no trace. Visitor education, residents influencing tourism, educating and supporting for better use of Chilliwack River Valley. So if somehow we can work this Area E becoming a stewardship committee for tourism Chilliwack into the second part of this motion, where staff are drafting letters of support in the destination marketing, I would definitely be in the mind to support this, and that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Engar. Further discussion?
Dixon.
Go ahead, Director Dixon.
Similar to Director Engar, like that is the type of conversation that I had, and you know, I think I phoned first, so I didn't get the term Area E stewardship, but that is exactly what makes sense to me. We do have a business component up here at Cultus Lake, and they are in favor, of course. They like to continue to be able to remain open. And I know the residents, it's the same. It's not as though I get lots and lots of complaints about traffic congestions, all the rest of that. But I'm also well aware that if the corner store couldn't stay open, we'd be hearing concerns about that also. So what I'm looking for, and I think that the support is there from the Tourism Chilliwack, really is how do we manage this? Like what makes sense? Maybe there's other places that people can go. Do they all have to come to Cultus Lake or Chilliwack River Valley? Just trying to expand it a little bit there. I think if we don't have an opportunity to express the concerns of the residents, what's the downside of just, hey, here's another event we can have at Cultus Lake or wherever, then they won't, why would they consider that? And I think that's an important voice to be at the table, and to have this avenue, more connections. I'm hoping, I will admit it's a hope, I think more connections could make for a better experience for the residents actually, as well as the visitors. So I will be supporting it, and if we want to add in the stewardship aspect, I don't know if there's a way to do that. I'd be on board with that too.
Good. Thank you, Director Dixon.
May I just add one more thing, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead, Director Engar.
I'd just like to also add in not only just the Area E and H Stewardship Committee approach, but to also commit the Tourism Chilliwack commits to a quarterly visit to our areas to discuss the local needs and to learn more about how they can effectively help us meet the challenges of tourism.
Okay, thank you, Director Engar. Perhaps we can amend the third part of the motion with the staff being directed to draft letters after we get this one put
I
forward.
think, Mr. Chair, I think that makes some good sense that we can work on the language for the third clause. That would be great.
Okay, you would like that to be included in the motion that's before us, or would you like that separated out?
Are you asking me or Director Engar?
Yeah.
I think that let's just deal with the motion that's before us, and
Okay,
then we can,
right.
when we deal with the third section, maybe we
Okay.
can go back to Director Engar and just get that language again. That would be great.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. So on the motion before us, any other discussion? Director Davidson?
Davidson?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Jared. Just a question out of curiosity. Is there, should this go forward and later prove that it's not generating the value that it was hoped for, is there an exit strategy? Is it a simple matter of passing a motion to get a given area out of these tourism initiatives? I was wondering if anybody on staff side can speak to that. Thank you.
Through the chair to Director Davidson, my understanding is that this is a 5-year commitment. I'm not sure if Mr. Urban has any information around how you would exit an MRDT, but I believe it would be one of those things that's done on a 5-year basis.
Yeah,
Thank you.
There we go.
Hello, I ran through the chair to Director Davidson. It's a good question, and I've asked that Allison Coulthorpe join the conversation for any kind of technical questions related to this. And if we could ask her that one, I'd appreciate that.
Okay,
Sure.
Ms.
So Ms. Van
Coulthorpe.
Ness, can you bring Ms. Coulthorpe into the conversation?
Yeah, so I'll just have our admin team just bring forward.
Oh, I see there she is right there, Tourism Chilliwack.
Through the chair to everyone, and you can't exit until the 5-year mark unless we then resubmit our application in the full capacity again, where we go around. So it's best to do it every 5 years, or the whole contract would have to be canceled.
Thank you, Ms. Coulthorpe. Sounds like it'd be very complicated to exit from this contract. Director Davidson, did you have anything else to add?
Good, Chair. No, Chair, I'm good. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Director Davidson. Director Adamson.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would exit it anyway, 5 years. It only affects the people that come here to visit us. And so, like, you know, I had my concerns when Hope wanted to do it for years. They had to get to 51% of the beds. And I think what they did was they went to area D, B, and A to get the bigger number and get that 51%. And I think they were saying 80,000 a year, roughly, is what they're going to bring in. And you have a say in how the money's spent. Like, you know, I've asked for different signage, you know, and there was money there. You know, I just think it's a good idea, and I think, you know, like they're coming anyway. They'll pay the 2%. You can use it any way you guys decide, and it's a good idea. I like it. Thanks. Bye.
Good. Thank you, Director Adamson. Any other discussion?
Dixon.
Bales.
Okay, Director Dixon and then Bales.
Sorry, well, now that Tourism Chilliwack's online, I actually didn't see them before. Would it be all right if I asked a question directly to Allison? Allison, we didn't use the language when we chatted that you came up with Director Engar. So would basically around stewardship and tourism management, would that be the same concept for Area H?
Through the chair to Director Dixon, absolutely. It was a concept that we started talking about yesterday, and it was very doable. It's something that we already do with all of our sectors and have meetings. And I can absolutely commit that we would do the same for Area H.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Coulthorpe and Director Dixon. Director Bales had a comment?
Oh, just that I did check out Tourism Harrison. Didn't check out Tourism Chilliwack, but nicely done website, not the top of the search engine page for sure. But I didn't notice anything much about stewardship. I didn't probably look in detail through all the pages. I did scan through it. So it'll be an interesting experiment to see how it works for area E and H. And I will support what they would like, and with an interesting, with an interested eye as far as once area C gets their OCP finished and a little bit more stewardship, hopefully through other means, then we'll maybe take another look at it.
Good. Thank you, Director Bales. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to support the Tourism Chilliwack application, all those in favor? Contrary, the motion carries. And then the final motion regarding the stewardship, et cetera. Did Director Angar or Bales, or Director Angar or Dixon care to?
Certainly, I can give it to you roughly if staff could put a little lipstick on the. No, that's not the right analogy. Sorry. If staff could spruce it up a bit for me, I'd appreciate it. Basically, the two key things in my mind, and Director Dixon, if you would please chime in as well, what's going to work for you. And the things that we discussed, Alice and I discussed, were that the Area E Stewardship Committee for Tourism Chilliwack would be receiving quarterly visits from Allison, the executive director, and would then need to listen to our local needs and also advocate for the local needs wherever possible. And those are the two things. Sorry, the quarterly visits and the actual terminology of us not just being part of destination marketing, but more so we're stewardship committee and destination management. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Angar. Director Dixon, are you on side with that?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I would just probably put in area E and H. As long as I'm especially definitely interested in the word management in the letters of support, because I think that's important. And I think we do need to be that voice. So the quarterly visits would be great.
Okay, good. So it sounds like we've got a motion through Director Angar, second Director Dixon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So then we'll move down to 11.3, which is the 2021 LMLGA resolutions. There's a motion for your consideration.
For a motion, move Director. Oh, did Director Stobart get invited back into the meeting?
He was, yes, Director Stobart was contacted to come back into the
There we
meeting.
go. Looking for a motion. Move Director Stobart,
Davidson.
second Director Davidson. Any discussion?
Davidson.
Go ahead, Director Davidson.
I just want to say thank you, staff, for the resolution around broadband and connectivity. I thought it was really, really well done. And yeah, thank you. That's it.
Good. Thank you, Director Davidson. Any further discussion?
Dixon.
Director Dixon.
I just wanted to thank them for that one, but also for the illegal dumping. Like, again, I had another report of people driving up here and dumping a load of whatever out of the back of their car just into the woods. And I don't understand. I have no understanding of that at all, because it probably costs more to drive up here and dump your stuff than it does to go to the dump, but the landfill. But anyway, so appreciate the support with this one.
Good. Thank you, Director Dixon. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
So next is 11.4, which is the COVID-19 Safe Restart Funding. So I'm just going to turn things over for the first part of the presentation to our CFO, Kelly Lounsborough.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. I'm just going to share my screen a moment. Here we go. Pardon me. This is the one. Okay. Okay. Sorry, somehow it wasn't on the beginning. Okay, I am ready to go now. Good afternoon. Okay, so this afternoon's presentation is intended to address recent concerns raised regarding the allocation of COVID-19 Safe Restart funds that we received in November of 2020. The Fraser Valley Regional District received this grant of $1.362 million to be used to address revenue shortfalls, facility reopening and operating costs, costs for protective services, computer and other electronic technology costs to improve interconnectivity and virtual communications, services for vulnerable persons, as well as other related costs. The provincial government determined their funding based upon 1, the entire regional district population, 2, the electoral area population, and lastly, they assigned a flat amount to the regional district as a whole to come up with the total allocation. This was the province's calculation in determining the funding that the regional district would receive. This funding formula is not to be mistaken for how the FERD chooses to allocate the funds. So the intention from the provincial government is not for prescriptive usage of funds, but rather to support local governments as they deal with increased operating costs and lower revenue due to COVID-19. The regional district is required to report annually on the usage of the funds and have all funds allocated by the end of 2021. Funds cannot be used to directly reduce taxation, but they can reduce costs, which would otherwise have resulted in increased taxation. Okay, so this next slide shows the current allocation of COVID-19 Safe Restart funding. As at today's date, nearly $860,000 or 63% of the grant has been allocated. We are still in the global pandemic and we don't know what we don't know. We have intentionally held back funds, currently just over $500,000, and will continue to monitor the needs of our nearly 120 service area budgets. This slide provides more details of the currently allocated funds. Of the $859,000 allocated to date, $679,000 has been allocated to regional and or sub-regional budgets, and over $180,000 has been directly allocated to electoral areas. Following the intention of the grant funding, we have allocated the funds accordingly. The FERD has experienced revenue shortfalls totaling $213,000, including areas at the Vetter Campground, the Almer Carlson Pool, the bowling alley in Boston Bar, Hope Air Park, Animal Control, where we waived fees for $30,000, and then the Hope Recreation Center. So nearly $300,000 has been allocated to technology improvements. This was to support remote work and electronic meetings, for example. So facility reopening and operating costs, they're continuing to be ongoing, and they're for items including security, to make sure that we have number control in the buildings, the control of access to the buildings, masks are being worn, signage, plexiglass, and personal protective equipment. So other related costs include items such as temporary staffing to support areas impacted most by the pandemic. So at this point, we are going to end the first part of the presentation. We will continue on again in short course, I should say.
So we're just going to table this item, Mr. Chair. We'll finish the rest of the open agenda, and we'll finish our closed, and then we will come back into the open session and finish up Kelly's presentation.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Kelly. Go forward, Ms. Kinnaman, if you like.
Okay, thank you. So just moving down to reports by electoral area directors.
Okay, maybe we could start out with Director Engar.
Thank you, Chair. Been a busy time soliciting information back from the community, and I'm glad to hear that most people are very concerned for what goes on in the valley, and I think this new proposal from Tourism Chilliwack will go a long way to easing the minds of those who are concerned. So knock on wood, everything turns out as planned, and because I'm sure this summer is going to be a busy summer in the beautiful outdoors. Other than that, I'm digging a grave for my little doggie and going to be paying my respect this afternoon. And God love the little creatures that we take for granted. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Angar. And those puppies, they become part of our lives. It's part of the family. It's, yeah, condolences. Thank you for your report. And then we'll move to Director Dixon.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'm just not really quite sure what to say. You know, there's certainly a lot of work going on in BC parks, cleaning it up, getting it ready for camping season. And our water safety committee has continued to meet and is still continues to plan to do some education around safe boating, speed limits, those type of thing in the summer, as well as putting in more buoys and just marking the slow zones far more clearly. So that is the direction our committee is taking. There's been a lot of support from certainly First Nations policing, as well as from some of the First Nation, but Cultus Lake Park Board, the Lindell Beach, and some of the other residents that have some of the foreshore leases. BC Parks is part of that. So it's been really good discussion and really working hard to make sure that this coming summer, the actual lake with the water for the swimmers, as well as the paddle boarders, the canoeists, and everybody is feeling just a little bit safer. So I think we're going in a good direction and looking forward to seeing a little bit more of that. And again, thanks to FERD staff for keeping the Lakeside Trail in good condition. Got a few cars parking on it again, so I'll be making a few visits. And also there's some work going on at the Aquadel sewer system. I think they're looks like they're covering it up and planting on top of it, so to make it look a little nicer. So anyway, we're moving along and spring is here. Thank you.
Sounds like a busy place. Thank you, Director Dixon. Director Adamson.
Yeah, spring is here too in Yale. It's been quiet. I think people are really want to get back to the community center and doing things. You know, in the country, I guess we feel that we're more safe because fresh air, you know, all around you. But yeah, we have that. They want to get in there. I don't know. They're cleaning out the thrift store to get it ready for spring's opening, hopefully, if COVID goes away or whatever. But yeah, it's quiet. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Adamson. Director Stobart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pretty quiet in Area G. Again, it's nice to see the fields green up a little bit. But other than that, it's been a pretty slow time. Yeah, normal spring. It's nice to see.
Good. Slow is good. I could you send some of that slow over. I could use some. Thank you. Thank you, Director Stowart. Director Davidson.
All quiet. Thank you, Chair. Not much to say.
Good. Thank you, Director Davidson. Director Bales.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet so far, although I'm expecting lots of tourists with the nice weather. And as I was saying, people are stressed out by the amount, but they do appreciate the tourism. So it'd be good to talk with staff and see what we can put on the DeRoche sign to welcome people to beautiful Area G and E, but how much we appreciate good stewards while you're here. So it'd be nice to have something other than just COVID messages. Well, yeah, there is the cannabis info message up there now, but I think most people know about the 6-foot distancing. So I think maybe we could utilize the sign a little bit more and welcome people to areas, beautiful areas C and G. and just ask people to be good stewards. So I do know that I'm thankful that staff got a survey that they'll be mailing out today or tomorrow for the Lake Eric Park. There's been a lot of stress around Lake Eric as far as the volume of people utilizing the area. So it will be nice to get more resolution as far as what direction to go with that. And unlike the neighbors, there's quite a few people that were wishing they could be like the neighboring Scallots and shut down the whole neighborhood at different points because of the stress they were feeling under. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully a better year than last one. And that's about it.
Thank you, Director Bales. Sounds like a challenging time. And on Area D Popcom's behalf, it's been relatively quiet. We're getting a lot of development taking place, and the staff have done an excellent job in dealing with the conflicts that always go along with that development. So I really would like to thank the staff for that. And that would bring the reports by directors to an end, and I'll turn things back to Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So item 15 is public question period for items relevant to the agenda, and has been our practice. We have encouraged residents and individuals to submit by email prior to the meeting or attend by phone. Ms. Van Ness, did we receive any email submissions or anyone still on the line?
So we did have a few members of the public that were joining us for the meeting. However, we don't have anybody left on the line. I did receive one question by email late yesterday. I'll just read it out here for the committee. My name is Ted Swain, General Manager of the Sandpiper Resort located at 14282 Morris Valley Road in Harrison Mills. I've been passed your contact information from Lisa Lacey and wanted to send you a quick email regarding concerns we have with Wendy Bales and her lack of support for tourism in Area C, Harrison Mills. It is my understanding that Wendy will oppose the introduction of an MRDT in Area C, Harrison Mills. My question for Wendy is why she has not reached out to myself, the Sandpiper Resort, to discuss her concerns or hear our views on the introduction of an MRDT. Our resort represents more than 50 full-time jobs with an additional 50 seasonal workers. This equates to 1.52 million in wages and salaries within the FERD. I would think it would be in the best interest of the FERD, Harrison Mills community, and local tourism to involve one of the largest operators, landowners in the Harrison Mills area. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend tomorrow's meeting, but I thank you in advance for hearing our concerns. Ted Sweeney.
Good, thank you, Ms. Van Ness. Director Bales, did you want to comment on the comments from the Sandpiper and questions?
Only that I didn't receive that letter, so this is the first I'm hearing about it. It's a toss-up. The comments from residents has been pretty well unanimous that while they appreciate, some of them appreciate tourism, that it's unanimous that we are inundated and flooded, and I keep envisioning that rock in Deep Cove where there's so many people on that one rock that that the reason people come here and love the area for the wildlife and the beauty is maybe a little bit, there's an overdose which is having a negative impact. So but as far as the businesses go, the Hemlock business owners were pretty unanimous in not supporting it, as well as the homes up there and the B&Bs. It's a bit of a split, but when you take into account the feelings of the residents, then I would say that it was leaning more towards no more advertising for more tourists. They will come, and I would like to get more stewardship signage up and signage on the DeRoche sign. But from what I've been seeing around the area, there hasn't been any shortage of tourists and utilization of the amenities.
Okay, thank you, Director Bales. This gentleman isn't present, as I understand, so we'll let your reply to him stand and he can assess that. I'll turn things back to Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
For a motion, move Director
Engar,
second Director Gibson. Thank you. All those in favor, contrary, the motion carries.